Hi everyone, this is a video on the inverse, secant, cosecant, and cotangent functions. We're going to do several problems, but first we need to know the definitions. So basically when you do inverses, for example when you have y equals inverse secant of x, that just means x equals secant of y. And we're just moving the secant over. And this is where the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 1, and my restrictions are in order to be a function is that my angle, or my y in this case, has to be between 0 and pi, while at the same time my angle, which we're calling y, cannot be pi over 2, because there it's undefined. Now for y equals cosecant, inverse cosecant of x, so that just means that x equals cosecant of y. We have the absolute value of x has to be greater than or equal to 1, and my restrictions are my angle, or we're calling my angle y now, is in between. It's going to be in quadrant 4 and 1, and y cannot be 0. And the last one is cotan. So let's separate these out. So basically we have y equals inverse cotan, and that just means x equals cotan of y. Y is my angle, and that means for cotan, it's kind of like tan, but it's in between. My x is in between negative infinity and infinity. It just means all real numbers, and my restrictions on the angle are between 0 and pi. It can't equal 0 on pi because it's undefined there. So basically what we're going to really look at when we're doing our problems is we're going to be looking at this part. Okay, just look at this, and that's going to help us determine what our answer is. So the first problem we have is the inverse cotan of square root of 3. Now if you set this to theta, just like we did, we're going to have cotan of theta equals square root of 3. However, my restrictions for this is in between 0 and pi. So I only can pick in quadrant 1 and 2. Quadrant 2, it'll be negative. Since this is positive, we pick the answer where it's in quadrant 2, in 1, I mean. So my theta is pi over 6. So technically you could say inverse cotan of square root of 3 equals pi over 6. Okay, just one answer on these inverses. Now the next one we have is cotan, inverse cotan of 1. Go ahead and set this to theta and rewrite it. With the restriction is that my angle is in between 0 and pi. Okay, so we know my angle is going to be pi over 4. Okay, it can't be 5 pi over 4 because of my restrictions, because of the inverse nature of the function. Okay, the next one we have is cosecant. Inverse cosecant, set it to theta, rewrite it. In this case, the restrictions for cosecant are in quadrant 4 to quadrant 1. Alright, now in this one, our angle is going to be, remember theta cannot be 0. My theta is going to be negative pi over 2. And be careful now, you can't say it's 3 pi over 2. When restricting the domain, here this is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. You can't go around to get to 3 pi over 2. There's nothing over here. So you can only go in this area here, quadrant 4 and quadrant 1. So your answer is going to be negative. All right, the next one is cosecant again. Inverse cosecant of square root of 2. Set it to theta. And so the cosecant of theta equals square root of 2. My restrictions are the same, so it's in between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. And my theta will be pi over 4. So cosecant, the inverse cosecant of square root of 2 is pi over 4. Okay, and I think we have a couple more, one more. We have secant, inverse secant of 2 square root of 3 over 3. We're going to set this to theta. And so we have secant of theta equals 2 square root of 3 over 3, whereby my angle is in between 0 and pi, while at the same time my angle cannot equal pi over 2 because it's undefined there. And this occurs at pi over 6. So my inverse secant of 2 square root of 3 over 3 equals pi over 6. Let me see if I have one more here. Actually, I have a few more. Okay. So another one is secant, inverse secant of negative 2. So you can write this as secant of theta equals negative 2. And that means my angle is in between 0 and pi, while at the same time it can't be pi over 2. It's undefined there. And that means my angle is going to be in quadrant 2, and that angle is going to be 2 pi over 3. And that is your answer. And another one, we have cotan. So we have cotan, inverse cotan of negative square root of 3 over 3. And on cotan, we're in between 0 and pi. And so set this to theta. That means we're in quadrant 2. And in quadrant 2, that angle is 2 pi over 3. And the last one is cosecant. Inverse cosecant of negative 2 square root of 3 over 3. And we're finding the angle that's in between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So set this to theta here. So cosecant of theta equals negative 2 square root of 3 over 3. Remember, we're going to be in quadrant 4 here with only negative values. So my angle here is just going to be negative pi over 3. Okay? It's not going to be 5 pi over 3 because you can't go around. So we're just in quadrant 4. Okay? That's all. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.